Good day everyone, we are Group 11A and today we stand before you to defend the professional integrity of our client, a dedicated physician. The case involves a medical certificate issued for 30 days without a physical examination, a document allegedly used by the patient to evade workplace disciplinary action.
While the prosecution seeks to paint our client as a conspirator and fraud, we will prove that his actions were rooted in clinical history and compassion, lacking the criminal intent required for conviction. We ask you to look beyond the paperwork and into the clinical reality of the doctor-patient relationship.
To understand the context, we must look at the events of the case.
Doc, pasensya na po. I'm having a severe relapse. My chronic back pain and anxiety are so bad. I can't even stand up to drive to your clinic. I'm spiraling, Doc.
I see your records here, ma'am, and we've been managing this case for 2 years. Then, based on your history, a relapse of this scale requires complete rest. Sige, I will issue you a certificate for 30 days. Please focus on your recovery na lang.
The doctor hangs up, believing he has saved a patient in crisis. But elsewhere,
Jackpot, nakakuha ako ng med-cert. Hindi na ako pwedeng i-fire ng HR kahit marami akong unexcused absences and pending cases. Safe ako for 30 days.
The legal questions at hand are, did our client knowingly issue a false certificate under Art 174 of the Revised Penal Code? Does the lack of a physical exam automatically equate to medical malpractice or civil negligence? And to what extent is a physician liable for the independent fraudulent acts of a patient?
Your Honor, under Article 174 of the Revised Penal Code, the prosecution must prove that the physician issued a false certificate knowingly. In the case of Lumentas versus Calapis, the Supreme Court clarifies that bad faith requires a dishonest purpose. Our client relied on amnesis, the client's history. In medicine, a history is a form of examination. If the patient lied to our client is not a criminal. He is a victim of the patient's deception.
There's no evidence of a meeting of the minds between our client and the patient to defraud the employer. Our client had no knowledge of the patient's pending disciplinary action. Without this knowledge, there's no conspiracy. You cannot convict a man for a crime he did not know was being committed.
Under Article 2176 of the Civil Code, for a physician to be civilly liable, his act must be the proximate cause of the injury. The injury to the workplace, the evasion of discipline, was caused solely by the patient's bad faith. The doctor's act was medical. The patient's act was administrative fraud. The chain of causation is broken.
Admittedly, the PMA Code of Ethics and the Medical Act of 1959 demand diligence. However, during an acute crisis, a physician's primary duty is to the patient's welfare, or salus populis supreme lex. While the modality of the exam was not physical, it was clinical. A technical omission is not a ground for the professional death of a license.
After a thorough review of the facts and the law, we conclude the following regarding our client's liability.
First, regarding criminal liability, we find the defendant not liable. The prosecution failed to establish mens rea or criminal intent as required under Article 174 of the Revised Penal Code. Furthermore, there is absolutely no proof of conspiracy involved in this matter. Second, regarding civil liability, we find the defendant not liable. There is no proximate cause attributable to our client. The damage in question was caused entirely by the patient's own independent fraud, consistent with the provisions of Article 2176 of the Civil Code. Finally, regarding administrative liability, we find the defendant liable, subject to a reprimand. We acknowledge a technical lapse on the part of the physician for failing to properly specify the teleconsult or history modality in the documentation.
Our client is not a criminal, nor is he a fraudster. He is a physician who trusted a patient, a trust that was unfortunately weaponized by that patient. We accept a minor administrative reprimand for the lack of documentation detail, but we demand full acquittal from criminal and civil charges.
To prevent such a travesty of justice in the future, a client should have qualified the certificate with the phrase, diagnosis based on clinical history and teleconsultation. the physician should have requested a follow-up physical visit as soon as the patient was mobile to validate the 30-day duration. And the physician should not have issued a long-term certificate without a clear plan of care or referral to a specialist, which would have added objective layers to the certificate.
Medical practice is a balance of science, law, and humanity. While our client may have been procedurally imperfect, he remained ethically committed to his patient's cry for help. We must not punish the healer for the sins of the patient.